Hello and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Coffee Break. Did you know that influencer marketing has a 6 times return on investment on marketing spend and that there is more than 30 million influencers? So that's a big number. And as you see, influencer marketing is a good way to get the word out, but it's not the easiest way to get started with. Today, we want to start or talk about how influencer marketing can work for you, for your business, and we will show you up 5 ways on how to get started. With me on the show today, I have Nisarg Shah. He is the co-founder and CEO of affable.ai, an AI platform that helps brands run successful influencer marketing campaigns. Nisarg has worked extensively and personally with over 200 brands, founders, and creators in this field. And he has also worked for Goldman Sachs, where he gained experience building scalable automation systems in the technology department in Bangalore. In his free time, Nisarg is an avid researcher and writer, contributing to his newsletter about unique business models. And he has written about Duolingo, Unsplash, Robinhood, and other ones on how they generate revenue and sustain their business. So Nisarg has a vast background when it comes to technology and influencer marketing, and that's what we want to talk about today. So let's welcome Nisarg to the show. Hi, how are you today?
Hey, Klaus, thanks for having me here. I'm great. Thanks a lot for creating these podcasts. I've checked out many of your e-commerce podcasts. I love the format where we just casually talk, and it's a pleasure to be here and share some of my views on influencer marketing, creator economy, and the e-commerce world in general.
Yes, on that, maybe just let's dive right into it. So influencer marketing, just tell me from your perspective, why is it so important to work with influencers?
If I had to summarize it, influencers give you a loudspeaker in a stadium full of people. If you think about it visually, influencers have influence because of the kind of content they create. They have trust among their followers. And when a brand wants to either spread word about the new product they're launching, or when a brand wants to make the most of this trust that the influencer has already built, a brand is better off just partnering with the right influencers and reaching the target audience at scale at a fraction of the cost. When we talk about influencers for e-commerce, typically we focus a lot on micro influencers. And the reason for that is affordability. You can actually get the same or more reach by working with, let's say, 50 micro influencers than spending on a collaboration with one celebrity. And this channel of reaching masses through micro influencers has been something which has been very, very successful for e-commerce brands. And we are here to help scale that.
Okay. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that there is more than 30 million influencers worldwide. So there might be a couple of influencers for every vertical, for every industry niche out there. So obviously very difficult to find the right person for the right job. We want to go through different steps and ideas to how get started on influencer marketing, and finding the right influencer, I think, is step one. How would you approach that?
It all starts with the goal that the brand has. Typically, when we work with brands, they either want to have a massive reach to share about their products, or they want to generate sales. So you would find influencers based on either one of your goals. Now, if you want to just spread your net wide and reach as many people, then you would start by identifying influencers who have a lot of followers, because the more followers, the more people are going to see what the influencer is talking about, not necessarily engage with that. If you want to drive a lot of sales, you want influencers that can actually engage their followers apart from just reaching them. So depending on the goal, the system kind of goes and identifies influencers. You touched base upon a few influencers for each industry vertical. One of the things which is very important is identifying influencers based on the content they upload, as well as the followers they have. We talk a lot about authenticity. You don't want to work with a food blogger to promote a lipstick. You want to identify a fashion or a beauty blogger, most of whose followers are also women, to promote a lipstick, because that is typically the kind of audience that is going to engage and buy from this influencer. There are multiple touch points that go into identifying influencers, starting with goal, followed by the kind of content the influencer uploads and the kind of audience that the influencer already has.
Okay. Now you're at Affable at AI. You're working with more than 150 brands, 5,000 marketers, and you obviously have a huge background on how these brands and marketers approach the search for an influencer, and then also going a little bit deeper and work with influencers. Give me an idea how that works.
So typically, when brands use Affable, we work with brands like H&M, Lenovo. When they want to identify influencers, what they would do is they would go into our platform. We provide more than 20 different filters, which completely streamlines the search experience. So imagine if you were to do it today manually. Let's take the example of lipsticks, where I want to identify a beauty blogger. Most of their followers are women. The influencer is based in the US, and the influencer is typically talking about beauty products. There is actually no way for you to do the search online yourself. You can go on Google and search for beauty influencers on Instagram. You will get a list of 20 bloggers. You don't know if the followers are women. You can go and search on Instagram for hashtag beauty influencer. Any person randomly in the world who's used hashtag beauty influencer and the content will show up. So it's again not relevant for you. They're not necessarily in the US. Their followers are not necessarily women. What we do is we use a lot of machine learning to go through the followers, to go through the content, use image analysis, use text analysis, understand the biography, understand the display pictures, the geo tags, to make sense of what the influencers are talking about and what the content, who's resonating the most with the content. And with this, we've built an index of a search engine, which is used by a lot of these brand marketers to identify and then to do the complete process after identifying the right influencers.
Mm-hmm. Now you have found your influencers. What's the next step? How do you sort of onboard them? What do you offer them? How do you make this cooperation work?
So the beauty of our offering is that we let the brands control the relationship with the influencers. And this is a very important highlight because typically most of the service companies in the space, they act as an agent between the brand and the influencer, and they control the relationship. What we've done is we're taking a software approach. We allow the brands to do outreach to the influencers. So they can reach out to hundreds of influencers seamlessly using a CRM integration that we provide. And the brand actually has complete control over the negotiation, over the deliverables, over the partnership, how long-term or short-term they want it to be. And the brand now owns the relationship with the influencer. So typically the next step after identifying influencers is reaching out to them, sharing with them about the campaign, asking who's interested, who's not, sending them a product. And for e-commerce stores, we integrate with Shopify, Magento, and other e-commerce backends where the product seeding is completely seamless. You can, with one click, send products to 500 influencers from your computer without having to do anything. And that's completely seamless through the integrations we've built out. Followed by that is the tracking piece. So once you've reached out to the influencers, you send them the products. Some of them will start posting about it. So taking the example of lipsticks again, some of the influencers will use it, upload a story or a reel or a TikTok. It's a lot of effort for a brand marketer to track this manually. So what the system does is it listens to influencer content every day, and it sources all the content that is for the brand and shows it to the brand, along with a lot of measurement tactics.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine if you have a lot of influencers and they're all doing their own campaigns, it's like herding a group of fleas there. Now, is that your system helps in managing this? From your experience, what are the best ways, or what are ways that brands are using to motivate influencers the most? So really put in the work and make it work.
Compensation is number one. You pay a fair value to the influencers, and they will actually do what you want them to do, and then some more. We're also seeing a lot of affiliate performances where brands are reaching out to influencers, giving them discount codes, and also giving them a percentage of every sale that the influencer is going to drive for the brand. This way, the influencer is actually motivated to position the post in a format which can actually drive sales and to keep sharing it again and again, because more people will see it, more people will go and purchase the product, and the more revenue the influencer receives. So these are some of the tangible ways. I think the intangible way that we have seen is creative freedom. Uh, Typically, influencers, the content performs better when it is in their voice. So when a brand reaches out to the influencer and tells them a checklist of 20 things they need to do to create the content, this content does not work. Whereas when a brand reaches out to the influencer and says, hey, we trust you to create the right kind of content. Here are the do's and don'ts, but then take your freedom to create the kind of content. And this is intangible, I say, because the influencers really like this. And they would then pour their heart into creating content which actually really, really works well.
Okay. Now, when it comes to, and that's something I'm interested in, as you mentioned this already, you need to track who is doing what. And then obviously you want to also measure sort of the performance, and it can be quite tricky. How does your system support that?
So our system measures social performance as well as sales performance. Social performance is reach, impression, engagement, estimated media value, anything that is measurable on social media. And a lot of brands care about these metrics as well. We also measure sales numbers and website visits and traffic that influencers are driving. And this is something we do through integrations with Bitly, Google Analytics, Shopify, to figure out where the traffic is coming from. So if an influencer uploads a post on YouTube, puts in a link there, we are able to track that traffic then which goes to the website and what is converting into sales and what is not. At the same time, we give a report to the brand beyond just social metrics and performance metrics to show them things like sentiment. For the comments that the influencers are receiving on the post, is it mostly positive sentiment? Is it negative sentiment? Are influencers getting the right brand messaging out, or are they attracting flack for being a brand ambassador? And these are certain intangible metrics which are very, very relevant for big brands as we start thinking about brand safety. So performance metrics, social metrics, and certain brand safety metrics as well.
Talking about brand safety, is there a way that you can sort of spy on your competitors to see what they do in regards of influencer marketing?
100%. What we do is beyond just competitors, an industry trend as well. So if we double click on that, our system tracks each influencer's public content. And in that manner, if they have tagged a brand, so if I'm Nike, and if I want to identify all the influencers that have spoken about Adidas, or if I want to identify if a given influencer has worked with Adidas in the past, these are some of the things that brands are able to track. But at the same time, I can also see what is generally happening in the fitness wear industry, which brand is leading charge, what kind of influencers are talking about brands in the fitness wear industry. So there's a lot of industry research and trends that you can follow. And that's where our customers are not only using our system to run a campaign, but they're also leveraging the system to have an always on approach to influencer marketing and the strategy.
Mm-hmm. Now, with your influencers, you might have some that perform better than others. Is there a way to have sort of a ranking or to split the good ones from the bad ones, that you can update your CRM and only work with the ones that give you the most potential?
Definitely, right. And the way we think about ranking is, rather than giving a score to each influencer, we rank them in order of relevance to the search itself. So today, if you're looking for a beauty blogger with most followers in the US being women, the highest ranked influencer will be the one who's uploading the most content about beauty and has the most female followers in the US. But when you change the search to beauty influencers with most followers being men, because you have a campaign for Valentine's Day, then we don't want to punish an influencer by ranking them low. It's just that the ranking changes relevant to your search. And for influencer marketing discovery as a use case, this works very well. We also assign certain scores in terms of how engaging an influencer is, how real their followers are, or how fake their followers are, so that the brands can filter out the unsafe or low performing influencers. But from the ones that are relevant, we rank them based on relevance.
Mm-hmm. Now, as most of our listeners and viewers on YouTube are Shopify merchants, and you spoke that you have an integration into Shopify. Give me a bit of an insight on how exactly it works and what it does.
So Shopify integration is just a one-click integration that integrates your Shopify store with Affable. What it does is predominantly three things. Number one, it allows you to create orders in bulk to be sent to influencers without having to go to Shopify. A lot of times, there are influencer marketing managers who don't necessarily even have access to create orders on the Shopify store. With Affable's integration, one click, you choose the influencers and orders are created for them. Second, you can start tracking the delivery status of the order. So if the influencers have received the order, if it has been fulfilled or not, and you can follow up with the influencer accordingly. Third, you can create discount codes and track sales associated with the discount codes to enable the whole affiliate use case. This integration makes it completely seamless. So if you have a Shopify store, it's a one-click install and you can do all of these things. But if you don't, we still make it as seamless as possible for you to kind of run the integration in a way where you can still pull the data, still create discount codes as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. If I'm in a brand who has never done influencer marketing and I'm thinking about it, what kind of homework do I have to do before I can really get started?
Typically, all you need to do is kind of understand who your target audience is and what kind of influencers would work well for you. And typically, as a brand, you would know what is the right persona that you have in your mind, because that's the first step, identifying the right influencers. I think beyond that, just have a chat with someone like us where we go and do consulting as well, but we kind of like will advise you on your strategy. We tell you what you should focus on and not focus on, what kind of spend should you do on influencer marketing, how much should you pay the influencers, etc. Obviously, there is a lot of online resources that's available, but nothing beats a 30-minute chat with an influencer expert who's been doing this day in and day out. So that's what we would recommend. We also publish a lot of our own content on affable.ai website under our blog section, which is information that we think should be useful for a lot of brands, a lot of case studies of how other brands are executing successful campaigns. So one could also refer to that as well.
Okay. So if I want to work with Affable, how much time do I need for onboarding and training before I can really get started?
Not much, actually. So once we decide that you want to work with us, it is very straightforward. Within a day, we can get you started. That's a shorter answer, right? And the integrations and installs of the app on Shopify, etc., these are like one click. So as long as you have access to integrate these apps, one click and you're set for running a campaign.
Cool. Give me a bit of an overview about the pricing. How does that work?
So the pricing is something that we work with on a case-to-case basis with the brands. On an average, it is somewhere in the $10,000 to $20,000 a year range for e-commerce brands that are starting out, have some influencer marketing campaigns that they are doing. And as you scale from there, then that cost increases. Obviously, it also depends on the channels. Typically, we are seeing that e-commerce brands get started with one channel, Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. But if you want to do multi-channel campaigns, then there's a separate cost to that. If you have a big team of 5 or 10 team members, there's a separate cost to that. But 10 to 20K a year is on an average what you can expect to spend when you start working with us.
Okay. Now, one needs to see that as an investment. Give me a bit of an idea from your experience what the return on investment is on influencer marketing.
I think you highlighted when we first started this conversation that brands are seeing around a 6x ROI on their spend towards influencers. So let's say you spend 20K on a software and you spend another 60 to 80K on the influencers themselves. If you're starting with 100K, you're making 500 to 600K potentially. Once you have ironed out all the kinks and you are able to identify a few influencers that actually drive good ROI for you. There is a lot of experimentation that goes in. You will not get that 6x ROI on day one or month one, but you will be able to identify the influencers that can drive the ROI for you. One of the brands we worked with during Black Friday, 3 months, October, November, and December, they generated around $550,000 worth of sales through influencers that they identified using Affable. So that is more than 6x. That's like a 20x ROI or something, because it's crazy. Obviously, Black Friday, there were a lot of offers and discounts that they were running, but few influencers and over $500,000 in sales. So that's what we're talking about.
That's not a bad result. Definitely not. No, that
Not
shows
at
it is very, very important. And I think like Affable, your system helps a lot with managing this part, because otherwise it would be very time consuming to do this all manually.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about your system?
affable.ai, we are very active on our website, on our blogs. We update all our information very regularly there. We also have a very active LinkedIn presence and a Twitter presence. So if you just search for affable.ai, LinkedIn, website, and Twitter, you'll find as much information as available about us on there.
Cool. I will put the links in the show notes for our listeners and viewers, and you're just one click away. Nisarg, thanks so much for giving us an overview on how the importance of influencer marketing can make a huge difference in your business. And I would highly recommend to go to your website, and people should just check it out. I think it's a very, very good system. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Klaus. Thanks for having me here. It's great chatting with you about this. I'm very passionate about influencer marketing. So if your audience wants to learn more, I would suggest please feel free to reach out to us. Let us know that you came through Klaus's podcast, and we definitely see what we can work out for you as a special offer.
I appreciate it. Sounds great. Thanks so much. Hey, Klaus here. Before you go, I would like to invite you to become part of the e-commerce merchant pro community to get actionable advice from other Shopify merchants who already have achieved what you are aiming for. Our community is a safe place to actively grow your online retail business with the support of the most amazing and helpful group of e-commerce entrepreneurs behind you. Running a Shopify business is tough. Don't do it alone. Join us now. You will find the link in the show notes. Also, if you think your online store has conversion or marketing issues and you would like to have a fresh set of eyes on your business, then drop me an email at klaus@klauslauter.com and let me know a little bit about your business. It might be beneficial for you to have me look over your store, offers, emails, and ads, and get an unbiased outside perspective and guidance to help you make most of your online business. Thank you as always for tuning in today. I appreciate you. Until next time, and I talk to you soon.